exercise and it be next Monday and this be over with. And it is what it is. We're actually going to do something fun. I don't like hearing voices that are not my own. That is ridiculous. At the end of class, we're actually going to do something fun.
Ms. Compton?
Yes, ma'am.
Could I have Faye Florino to the main office to drive?
Yes, ma'am. And we also, at the end of class, some of us are going to get a new seat because it's time to move on. It's time to find a new group and see if you can get that group some points. Today is the day. But after we go over these math workshops, yeah, I have some stuff to do and I would love to help you. And I need to check that homework you had last week, page 32 through 34. Some people showed me there on Friday. Most people did not. But otherwise, it should just be you working on your study guide. Is your study guide a grade?
Yes, ma'am.
When is it due?
Tomorrow.
It's due tomorrow. It is due tomorrow. I will post the key when?
Tomorrow. Tonight.
I'll post the key probably sometime this afternoon, but yeah, tonight is the latest. So does it make sense for Don Terry to turn in a blank study guide? Or no study guide at all? None whatsoever. However, I've not had to do this yet in this class period, but if there was a week I would have to do it. It would be homecoming week. Me posting the key is me being nice. I don't have to be nice if you don't do your job. You don't have to get the key. And Google Classroom is so cool. I can post the key to everyone but Kelsey if I want to. That's how cool Google Classroom is. I can decide who doesn't need the key. And I know it is mean, but they should have been doing productive in math classes. If there's the ping when they didn't do any math, no. So, it's just not very fair, but life's not fair. So, moving on. Anyway, something fun pending your behavior, pending life. Something fun will happen, we'll say 8:55, 5 minutes before 9, we'll do something fun. And some people might move seats a little before then, but it's not going to, the seat move is not going to be that big of a deal. We're not going to make it into a huge thing. Okay, it's just time. Just time. I need help with number 1. Would some group like to help me with this problem? I understand that.
Just kidding.
What's the biggest number that you can pull out of 64 and 48? 16, and table 3 gets the point. You pull out a 16, and then what else can you pull out? And what would you be left with? What else? Okay, she said it completely, so we're going to give her table the point. Although these two other tables almost got the point themselves, I'm sure they can on number 5. Let's get to that one now. Number 5. I need the biggest thing that you can pull out of 24 and 18. Yes, table 2. 6. If you pull out a 6, what else can you pull out? AB. And what would you be left with?
4AB minus 3.
4AB minus 3. And Natalie's group gets the point. Okay, my first thought on any problem is there a GCF? In the past few weeks, all our problems that have said factor have been GCF problems. My first thought on any problem is there a GCF? And if there is a GCF, I pull it out. That's my first thought. However, this week we're moving beyond that. We got to get to what step 2 of if there's not a GCF, what do I do now? So there's more we can do on problems that have 3 terms, like number 3 and maybe even 4 and 6, because maybe we can combine some terms. It just depends on life. So we're moving beyond just GCF. We're actually going to have to start factoring in just a little while. Okay, so if there are 2 terms, so if you count things. There's 1, 2 guys. If there are 2 terms, GCF is about the best I can do. If there are 3 terms, yes, my first thought is GCF, but then there are some other ways that we might actually have to for real factor. Like we might have to go for it for real. And then if there are 4 terms, we say, oh no, you might pull a GCF out, but more than likely you're going to have to do something your teacher called grouping, which is where you put 2 different terms together. So you probably want me to work number 2 as a refresher, but then tomorrow, not tomorrow, because tomorrow you have a test, Wednesday you could definitely handle 4 and 6 on your own. Okay, does anyone remember what grouping looked like?
Bonded.
If I wanted to group number 2, what would grouping look like? Okay, grouping is when we literally put one group, one pair together, and the other pair together, and then we pull out a GCF. So if we put this pair together, just this, what can we pull out of a squared minus 4ac? We can pull out just an a. So we would be left with a minus 4c. Okay, with this, are there any questions about that? We just looked at the first one. We pulled out an a. We're left with a minus 4c. Okay, well, let's do the same thing with the other term. It's AB minus 4BC. What can we pull out of it? B. If we pull out a B, what are we left with?
A minus 4C.
What do you notice interesting on the screen? What's interesting about that?
They're the same, but they just start off with like A comes first, and then the second B comes first.
Good stuff. So they're, and you can have a point for that. They're the same. Notice in parentheses, the A minus 4AC, isn't it the same for both? So one of my answers is going to be, one of my 2 terms when I fully factor is going to be A minus 4C. And Seth already kind of figured out the other one is what was left. The A and the plus B. So let me say grouping again. Grouping is when there are 4 terms. There are 4. We put them 2 and 2. So I put these 2 together, and I put these 2 together. Then I said, is there a GCF I can pull out of the yellow? Oh, there is an A. And I was left with this. I asked myself the same question with the orange. Is there a GCF I can pull out of this? Yes, I can pull out a B. So I'm left with the A minus 4C. I noticed an interesting thing. Both parentheses have the same thing inside, A minus 4C. So one of my 2 factors is A minus 4C. My other factor is what's left out front, so the A plus B. If we were questioning our sanity, because maybe we should be, it is Monday morning, how could we check ourselves?
Plug it back in.
And what do we call it when we distribute when there are 2 binomials like this? It had an acronym, you learned it. It sounded like something you use in the kitchen. You use it in the kitchen. Yes, Reagan, was that you? And Reagan's group gets a point. We could FOIL it, which is like distributing, but we had a set pattern with it. So it was first, outer, inner, last. And if you wanted to check with FOIL, you could. Okay, and that's real deep to start off with on a Monday. I agree with that. I really wanted to start with 7 through 12, because those are the ones we've been loving. But I know you need a few minutes to think about your perfect square, so I didn't go straight there. We will not do any math workshop tomorrow. Why? We have a test tomorrow. I heard it first from Alonde, whose group gets a point. Okay. I need you to get out your study guide and let's look at it really fast before you go crazy and work it all. Let's make sure we're on the same page. Speaking of Paige, can you bring me your study guide? Can you find it? Or you've worked some things, haven't you? No, that's exactly what I want. Perfect. Okay. Paige has her study guide. And she is super depressed on the front side. Why is she super depressed on the front side of her study guide? Say it again. It's all piecewise. Your group gets another point. So the first page of that study guide, ultimately disappointing because it's all piecewise. We got it on Friday. It's in the 922 if you don't have one. Okay. So 1 through 3, they're pretty easy. That's the evaluating ones. 4 through 9, those are the annoying ones. You actually have to graph. And then, you know how a lot of people lost their points on the last quiz? They didn't follow the directions. What did they not state that they were supposed to state in addition to graphing?
Domain and range.
Domain and range. I heard it from 2, 3, and 5 get a point. If you do not actually take the time to list the domain and range, you lose a lot of points. What's your best guess? What's your best guess? If you're going to guess something, what's your guess for domain and range? Thank you, Kelsey. You get a point for that. It works most of the time for both. It works for us for domain, like 90% of the 95% of the time. If I'm guessing, especially for domain, I guess that. Range, because it's piecewise, is not always this, but it tends to be this. Okay, so just like on your quiz, which you got to keep, when I'm grading your test, I'm going to look and see, did you draw your fences? Did you graph your lines correctly? For instance, on number 6, part 3 is just a 3. So if Kelsey doesn't have a flat line at 3, did she technically graph that last piece correct? No. So have you drawn your fences? Did you graph your lines correctly? And of course, I'm going to look at Kelsey's fence points. Did she do an open circle when she should have done a closed circle? And I really think Kelsey can do this. She learned from her mistakes if she made any on the piecewise quiz. I hope she learned from her mistakes. She needs to learn from her mistakes. She's going to state the domain and range this time if she forgot the last time. And I'm praying her and piecewise will be fine, because as you can see, it makes up half this study guide. So I wouldn't be surprised if it made up a good portion of the test tomorrow. Are there any obvious questions on 1 through 9? Today would be the day to ask me or Miss Brister if you were still confused on something. Today would be the day to ask us. Okay, flip to the back. Flip to the back of the study guide. Okay, we learned 3 things the second half of this chapter. We learned 3 things the second half of this. There's a back to the study guide. Okay, baby dolls, we had it on the podium on Friday. We had this whole discussion about how on the back of the packet I'd only copied one side. So that's why I was giving you a whole new copy, front and back.
You did.
If you didn't pick it up, it would be in the 922. Yep, it would be in the 922. My extra copies would be. Okay, so on the back of the study guide, it's got a bunch more questions. It's got really 2 parts. But both parts you like. The bottom part, we graph inequalities. Don't forget when you're supposed to do a dotted or a solid line. Don't forget less than means shape below. I bet Gracie will rock the graphing inequality part. She can totally do that. And if she gets stuck, she's going to do a test point. I also think Gracie can rock 10 through 15 because she gets what on 10 through 15? What can she use to help her with 10 through 15? She can use that graphing calculator. So if you're stuck with your graphing calculator, now if it misbehaves tomorrow, I'm willing to take a look at it. But if you ask me tomorrow, Miss Compton, how do you get to absolute value, I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to help you. So if you've forgotten, you go to y equals like you want to graph something. And then you press math. You scroll over to NUM and I see ABS. If you're really smart, you could just do alpha and type out ABS, the letters. But if you're like me and you just need a button, math, scroll over to NUM, and there's that ABS. If you ask me how to graph it tomorrow, I'm going to tell you no. Okay, so we graph something. We press graph. Let's say that Kelsey wants to look at a table of values. How can she look at a table of values on her calculator?
Do the trace.
She could press trace, but trace kind of gives her some decimals, so she might be mad. She could go to the table. Thank you, Kelsey, add a point. So if you press second table, you can go actually see the points you could plot on your paper. You could plot 0, 0. You could plot 1, 1. You could plot 2, 2. You could plot the points given on your table. So I'm not going to know if Kelsey actually understands that, for instance, number 11 means that the parent graph was moved left 2 and up 3. I'm not going to know if she gets that or if she gets the fact how to put it in her calculator. I'm not going to know. One's not going to know. Unless she somehow goofs it up, in which case I'm going to guess she did it in her calculator. Okay, my last word of warning with the calculator is to make sure it's not the calculator's fault. If you put x minus 2 and then put the plus 3 inside the bars with it, it's going to graph it incorrectly. That's not on the calculator. That is on you, dear. That is on you. Okay, I believe the back side should be awesome. If you wanted to do that side first to make you feel better about your life, that's a great idea. The front side is the harder side. but we just quizzed on it. You've got it together, I pray. If you want to look at my quiz key again, I will gladly show that to you. Are there any questions about the study guide? Okay, then I'm going to let you work. I changed my time because I talked too long to 8:57. I was supposed to find it to happen. Thank you, Paige.
8:57.
8:57.